What's up everyone, back for another beer review, and today is day 26 of all Imperial Beer Theme Month here on the channel. And the beer I'm reviewing today comes from the Griffin Claw Brewing Company, and they are out of Birmingham, Michigan, and this is their Flying Buffalo, the double barrel reserve variant, and this is the 2020 vintage. So this is a Russian Imperial Stout that is aged in both a bourbon and rye whiskey barrels. It comes in at 12% alcohol by volume. No IBUs listed. Time of review, this can is just under 5 years old. I want to give a huge thanks and shout out once again to a very good friend of mine and a longtime viewer of the channel, Jeff, aka a NoJinx, for this beer in the description box. I'll post a link to the beer mail unboxing video I did that contains all the goodies that Jeff sent my way, and he actually sent me this one back in 2020. And back in 2019 and 2020, Jeff and I exchanged a lot of beers, and I still have about a half dozen of them in my cellar slash fridge, and this is one of them. I actually have, I think it's like 4 beers from Griffin Claw, this along with a couple other of the Flying Buffalo variants, and I also have their Oblivious. I think that's like the 2019. So we're going to review them this year. And I thought I'd start with this one because it is a double barrel aged beer, has no adjuncts. And I thought, you know, it probably should hold up relatively well. Now, full disclosure, I cracked this one open already. I did it over the sink because this can was extremely tight. And being in my cellar, I was like, okay, maybe it underwent a secondary fermentation. Maybe it's infected, whatever. It's going to explode. It's going to gush. No, it's just a huge fill. Like I wish I could show you, but it's like almost right to the rim of the can there. Oh man, I was so nervous. I was like incredibly nervous, but it seems like everything's okay. So they do have a spiel on the side of the can that I'll read after I pour it and review it, but I'm sure there's some tasting notes and whatnot. But the gist of this one is that it was aged in bourbon barrels for 10 months, and then they transferred it to rye whiskey barrels for 4 months. So it's double barrel aged. And yeah, I'm going to pour it into the Night Fury glass from Witch's Hat because I have 2 Michigan glasses, Kunin and this, and we're going to use it. So I might spill it because it's so far to the top, but we'll see. Has some good carbonation, it seems. Beautiful. See, I spilled just a little bit. Just a little bit, and I have a leftover paper towel here that I can kind of use. But yeah, I didn't spill a lot of it, just a single drop actually. So I did look on Untappd. I forget what Jeff gave it. All I remember from Jeff's check-in is that he said it was a bit thin and not like one of his favorite variants of Flying Buffalo. I think he gave it like a 4 out of 5. Maybe it might have been a 4.25, but that's all I saw. We'll see if it's still thin and everything. But that was back. I think he posted that a little bit after this release, back in, I think, March, or yeah, I think it was late March of 2020. So I'm drinking this one substantially older, obviously. So how does it look? Well, yeah, it's pitch black. Poured out more of a dark brown, but in the glass it's pitch black. Had about a finger of a beautiful khaki colored head. It's now dissipated to almost a thin film. I'd say like a quarter, maybe a fifth of a head there. But yeah, it looks kind of what you expect, I think. Can I swirl up another head here? Let's see. It comes back to about half a finger. That's like the best I can do on it. But yeah, it plays the role of what I'm looking for if I want a barrel-aged beer of some sort. Let's get a nose. Okay, so it's oxidized, which is, you know, here's the thing. It's in the can. I said here's the thing. Usually I catch it. It's in the can. Doesn't mean the beer can't be oxidized. It could be oxidized, you know, before the can and whatnot. But it was filled to the top. Doesn't matter. Still oxidized. It has just this stale, like slightly cardboard-esque kind of nose to it. I'm still getting like a really nice barrel presence. A little bit of vanilla oak, bourbon. A spiciness that I would tell you it's rye whiskey now, but like if I would just say peppery or spicy bourbon. More so than like chocolate or coffee or like dark roasted malt, I'm getting kind of like caramel toffee, like caramelized sugars. Maybe even like a little black licorice. And this is a Russian Imperial Stout as opposed to Imperial Stout. With Russian Imperial Stouts, usually they're more bitter. I usually get like black licorice, tobacco, leather, more so in Russian Imperial Stouts than regular American Imperial Stouts, and that's kind of what's happening here. And as I'm letting my palate kind of acclimate, and by palate I mean my nose piece, the oxidation is starting to fade a bit, kind of like when you get like a skunky beer, like in a green or clear bottle, and you start drinking it and kind of that skunkiness starts to kind of, you acclimate yourself to it and it's not as noticeable. That's what's happening right now. Yeah, the vanilla is really pronounced in this. There's a touch of like a smoky kind of character, like almost like it has like smoked malt. Maybe it's just like a charry kind of like deeply roasted kind of characteristic from the barrel itself. Here's the thing: it doesn't smell like it's infected or anything. There's no like severe off flavors outside of the oxidation. You know, there's no tartness that I'm detecting or sourness in the nose. No vinegar, nothing like that. It smells good, but not great. That's what I'll say. So we'll get into it. Cheers, everybody. And sorry, Jeff, but I do appreciate it, and I am getting to it finally. Hopefully, it's pretty tasty. Cheers. That's nice. It's actually quite nice. Not amazing. After that first sip, not amazing. The oxidation does not carry through on the palate. I'm not getting any kind of like stale, cardboardy, or any kind of like sherry notes, you know, like a overt like fruitiness or anything. But I can see what Jeff's saying about the thin body. This is incredibly thin. And from the barrel aging, the aging, maybe it's just gotten even more thin, but this is extremely thin. I actually like the flavors. All right, so where do we start? Body. This is like higher side of medium body, maybe lower side of full if I'm stretching, but like higher side of medium body. It's 12%. That's crazy that it's a higher side of medium body. It's definitely thin, and based on Jeff's check-in, I can see where he's coming from. It might even be thinner than he was alluding to, so he said it was a bit thin. I think he said, maybe he said it was quite thin. I don't remember. This is very thin though for the ABV and everything going on here. Now, maybe the base beer itself is already a little bit thin, then you put it in the barrels, thins it out even further. For me, I want to see this like medium full, and it's more like higher side of medium. The mouthfeel is actually one of the best things about this. Mild carbonation, it's soft. It's very smooth, easy drinking on the palate, has a touch of creaminess. Mouthfeel is superior to the body. So it has that working for it. The taste, it's not overly complex, but I am getting more of like a roasted malt, more of like a baker's chocolate, maybe a bit of like a espresso thing. Like it definitely has your typical roasted malt chocolate coffee characteristic, which is nice. In the nose, it was not that whatsoever. So underlying fruitiness, cherry, it'd be like a sugar plum. There's a little bit of black licorice. I think I said that in the nose, but it has this like black licorice kind of like anise kind of thing going on. That's the first half, maybe first 2/3 of the palate. On the second half, the barrel hits. I'll tell you right now though, the one thing about this beer, it's 12%, and I have to mention it right now because it's as I took that sip. This is one of the most dry beers I've had in the last couple months. Like it is incredible. Like it is sapping my entire mouth of all the saliva. I feel like I haven't said this in a while, but I have like the cat tongue, the sandpaper tongue. Like that's what's kind of happening in my mouth right now. So this is incredibly dry. But that barrel character, big pop of vanilla. There's oak and again, the perceived oak tannin dryness. There is that peppery kind of bourbon, but because it's rye whiskey, like I said, I'm going to default to that. So I definitely get the rye part of it. It has more of a pungent kind of spiciness to it. So that has to be the rye whiskey. Doesn't really have that leathery tobacco thing I get a lot of times with Russian Imperial Stouts. I do think the base actually shines through here. The barrel's here. And you know what, I take it back. It does have a complexity to it. It's just not over the top. I think I'm still stuck on the really thin body. And again, it's a higher side of medium, but we're talking about 12% beer here, not like an 8% IPA. You'll hear me a lot of times be like, oh, this is an 8.5% IPA, and it's higher side of medium body. That might bother some of you. That's in my wheelhouse. When something like this hits and it's 12% and it's the same kind of body, to me, that's a big no-no. We'll just say no-no. It is. It's a big detriment to the beer because this is going to be a sipping beer. This is going to be a beer I drink on for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours. And if the body is thin and it's like almost has a watery, I don't want to say watery consistency. I was about to say that, but it's not watery, but it's extremely thin for something 12%. So I'm kind of stuck on that, and I shouldn't be. But I'm a poor beer reviewer, so what do you want from me? The finish, This is weird. If you watch enough of my reviews, you know that the first half of the palate for me is usually malt character. Very rare do I get like hop character or other things going on. It usually hits me malt from forefront, hop character on the back end, barrel on the back end, all that. With this one though, that malt character kind of hits again on the finish, and it's like caramel, it's toffee, it's butterscotch. It's what I was getting in the nose, but it's actually finishing with that. And it kind of, the barrel kind of accentuates that and actually makes for a very pleasant finish despite the extreme dryness. There is a very mild bitterness at the most here. There's a huge warming in my chest, into my stomach. I've been saying that a lot this month. I guess I just, because I'm drinking so many big beers, like some I notice it and some I don't. And when I do, I have to mention it. The warming in the chest isn't as big as in the pit of my stomach, but the pit of my stomach is definitely on fire. The chest is just a little bit of a warm sensation. On my palate, not really any booziness, just the barrel you really notice. This is actually quite nice, not blowing me away. You know, not kind of, when I just pour this out, man, this looks so, now it looks pitch black in the glass, right? Pouring that out, that is like, I don't want to say some bullshit that I can't take back, but that looks like a brown ale pouring out. One more sip, we'll read the side after I rate it. This is good to very good. But that's kind of in the realm where I am now. Would this been better fresh? Maybe. But based on Jeff's Untappd check-in, I think we're having a similar experience. Although, especially from the body standpoint. But fresh, I do wonder if, maybe the ABV is a little bit harsher. But I don't think this has changed like significantly either way. I could be wrong. Anyway, I'm going to rate this one. The pros to this one. Nice flavors overall. Definitely get the barrel presence. The mouth feels awesome. The negatives, it's incredibly thin. It's very warming, especially in my stomach and my chest, but more in the stomach than anything. A little bit of oxidation in the nose. But I think, weighing these all together, I think this is still a really good to very good beer that I do enjoy. I'm going to drink the rest of that and not really hate my life. I'm glad the oxidation didn't carry over the taste. It also is incredibly dry, and if you've been, again, watching the reviews over the last, X amount of months, maybe even the last year or two, you know that I've always been someone who doesn't love dry beers, but I've started to enjoy them more and more because I feel like so many beers that I drink are sweet, so it needs that dryness to kind of balance it out on the palate. This, though, leans a little bit too dry. This is an incredibly dry beer. It is very dry, and if you don't like dry beers, then you would definitely not like drinking this fresh. But I do think they release this almost every year. I don't know, Jeff, anybody else, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is really nice. So, Flying Buffalo, the Double Barrel Reserve variant, the 2020 vintage, I am going to give this a high 4 out of 5. Will go 4.1. I think that's where this one lands for me. I do like the can. The can's awesome, the all black. I love the logo here. It reminds me of so many logos here in Buffalo. Obviously, Flying Buffalo. I'm at Buffalo, New York, so it makes sense. And yeah, just a really, I'd say this is a borderline very good beer. Like on the cusp of it. It's good to very good, but on the higher side of good. It's just that incredibly thin body. If not for that thin body, this would be like a 4.25, 4.3 easily for me. But it's too thin to make me jump for joy, so to speak. Anyway, let's read the side here. It says, Brewmaster Special Reserve. This extra special reserve Russian Imperial Stout went through our strict Flying Bison, that's a local brewery here, Buffalo, Flying Buffalo aging process in bourbon barrels for 10 months before a second sleep of 4 months in freshly emptied rye whiskey barrels. Under the watchful eye of our head brewmaster, this double barrel process results in a complex, smooth, sure, smoky, I did say smoky, did I say it in the taste? Then I said more in the nose. Earthy, I did say that in the nose. Oaky, sure, and intensely delicious stout. Slow down right there, great. Griffin Claw. It says intensely delicious stout experience. Perhaps the most intricate Buffalo yet to take flight. Maybe back in 2020. This one was canned on March 6th of 2020. I'm drinking this one, late January of 2025. So again, just under 5 months. If you wanted to get into specifics, we could be like 58 months, whatever. It doesn't matter. Price point availability, I have no idea. Jeff, what did you pay for this? What does this cost when it comes out every year? I would imagine, a decent price point, probably in like the mid 20s or something like that for a 4-pack, or maybe they sell it by the can. But whatever the case may be, for a single can, for what I'm drinking here, I probably wouldn't pay for it more than like $4 or $5. But if it was normal, like a really good double barrel, Russian Imperial Stout aged in, 2 separate barrels, I'd probably go $6, $7 a can. But for what I'm drinking, like 4 would be the max I'd pay. And availability, it's Griffin Claw. I don't know if these get, on the shelves in Michigan, or if you have to go to the brewery for something like this, probably brewery only, but I do enjoy it. And Jeff, thanks again for sending this one, even though, it was almost 5, I think he actually said this one to me almost 5 years ago. I think he sent it me at the end of March, because when he said this was relatively fresh, but I was like, oh, I can wait on it, and I waited on this and other variants. So the other variants I have is I think I have I want to say it was like a chocolate almond I have in my, I actually have that in my darker beer fridge right now, and I also have their barrel-aged mole stout, which is I think chocolate and cinnamon and vanilla and everything. So I am curious about those, because those are just as old, if not older. They have adjuncts. Who knows how they held up, but we'll review one of those in the next month or two. Again, I'm going to review all the beers that Jeff sent my way that I haven't reviewed to date, and I wanted to start with kind of the Wizard Burial Ground and this, which are just strict and straightly barrel-aged beers and not adjunct laden, just to see how they held up, and I think they held up pretty well. And a 4.1 out of 5 is the best I can give this one. So if you've had this one before, any other vintage, let me know what you thought about it. What do you think about Griffin Claw as a whole? And sorry, Jeff, but also thank you, Jeff. This was fun to do, and it's fun diving into the cellar and drinking almost 5-year-old beers. It really is, especially when they hold up relatively well. Outside of the thin body, I think this did a really good job. Not oxidized, not infected, pretty complex, nice flavor notes. Just, it can't be fucking higher side of medium body. And that's at best, higher side of medium body. Anyway, I'm shutting this one down. Appreciate it. Stop back tomorrow for another all Imperial Beer Theme Month beer. Till then, cheers.